Introduction to Spy Shadow Lingyun. A makeup artist from later generations who travels through the past and absorbs the memories of two people. Chasing Japanese spies, destroying countless Japanese spy organizations, arresting one Japanese spy after another, while disguising himself as a Japanese, penetrating deep into enemy groups, gathering intelligence, and maneuvering among Japanese high-ranking officials. In that turbulent era, Chu Lingyun used his wit and wisdom to contribute his strength to the beacon cause of his motherland, and made indelible contributions. Chapter 1. Capturing Japanese Spy. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In early 1936, willow trees had just sprouted, and the land in central China was full of spring. In the military intelligence office located on Pingyue Road in Wuhan, two people were sitting on a sofa chatting. Lingyun, how is your recovery? Sitting on the right side of the sofa was a man in his 30s, dressed in a serious military uniform with the rank of colonel, but his tone was very gentle. The plainclothes man sitting next to him, Chu Lingyun, was young and youthful yet still masculine. Upon hearing the question, he respectfully replied, "Webmaster, I have fully recovered and can work anytime. Young people are full of vitality, and you are very ambitious. I am well aware of this advantage." Wang Yuemin nodded with a smile and continued, "You were selected by me from thousands of soldiers in the army. Your strength is beyond doubt, but you must pay attention to propriety in your actions. Don't be so reckless again in the future." "I was too reckless this time and disappointed the webmaster." Chu Lingyun immediately stood up and bowed straight. His humble attitude, standard military etiquette, and resolute expression made Wang Yuemin more satisfied. Wang Yuemin waved his hand and gestured for Chu Lingyun to sit down. "Sit down, sit down. I'm not blaming you. Besides, you are dedicated to serving the public and also thinking of making contributions. That's not wrong." He stood up and took a file bag from his desk, placing it in front of Chu Lingyun. "Tomorrow, the intelligence team will have an operation to capture Japanese spies. I helped you secure this operation. You can go back and take a good look, prepare yourself, and make this operation more beautiful." The file bag was not thick, and Chu Lingyun did not open it in front of Wang Yuemin. Instead, he stood up and saluted the military again before leaving with the file bag. As Chu Lingyun walked out of the office, a hint of confusion immediately appeared on his face. Chu Lingyun is only 22 years old this year, from Zhejiang province. After graduating from high school, he was amazed by the hardships of this country. Despite opposition from his family, he resolutely applied to the Central Army Officer School in Nanjing, which later became known as the Huangpu Military Academy. Last year, he graduated with excellent grades and was later assigned to the army as a second lieutenant platoon leader. Chu Lingyun, who had always wanted to make achievements on the battlefield, only received training after joining the army and had no combat for several months. At the end of last year, he was noticed by Wang Yuemin, the deputy director of the Wuhan station of the Military Intelligence Department. With a transfer order, he was transferred to the Wuhan station of the Military Intelligence Department as the captain of the third team of the operation team. The Military Intelligence Service was only established 32 years ago. In addition to ensuring intelligence security for military organizations such as the military, police, and constitution, it also collected external intelligence and cracked down on foreign spies. During this period, the main enemy of the Military Intelligence Service was the Japanese. Chu Lingyun was eager to make contributions. 5 days ago, he accidentally discovered that a young Japanese expatriate was different from others, so he followed the Japanese expatriate alone. When he followed him to the outskirts of the city, he was discovered by the Japanese expatriate and they had a fight. As a result, Chu Lingyun was lightly injured, and the Japanese expatriate was killed by Chu Lingyun. After calming down, Chu Lingyun strode towards his office. Chu Lingyun is just a team leader of the Wuhan Station Operation Team of the Military Intelligence Department, and does not have his own separate office. He is in a large office, and in addition to him, there are 14 team members under his command. "Captain, you're back." As soon as he entered the office, the member of the third team of the action team, Mud Loach, immediately welcomed him. After Chu Lingyun sat down, he immediately filled his teacup with tea. Chu Lingyun waved his hand and gestured for the Loach to busy himself, while he opened his file bag. His eyes were on the document, but his mind drifted towards the distant future. In his past life, he was an inconspicuous makeup artist who relied on his superb makeup skills to imitate celebrities. He accumulated more than 1 million fans on short video platforms. Unexpectedly, he woke up in the 25th year of the Republic of China and became attached to this soldier named Chu Lingyun, becoming a famous member of the Military Statistics Bureau in later generations. He is well aware of history that the future will be dominated by the Red Party. Fortunately, the owner of this body has not been involved in the war against the Red Party since graduation. As someone familiar with history, he can give himself a reliable position in the future. Chu Lingyun's memory has been fully accepted by him in the past few days. Apart from being physically strong and having strong combat abilities, Chu Lingyun's biggest specialty is his exceptional memory. It is precisely because of this talent that he was valued by Wang Yuemin and directly poached to the Wuhan station of the Military Intelligence Department. The station master of Wuhan Station is an elderly person from the original Nanchang camp, while the deputy station master Wang Yuemin is a legitimate member of the headquarters and has great influence at Wuhan Station. The entire Wuhan Station, except for the telecommunications team, general affairs team, and action team led by Liao Wenwu, all others are Wang Yuemin's confidants. The leader of the interrogation team was previously Wang Yuemin's secretary. Although the leader of the action team was not his person, all three teams under the action team were appointed by Wang Yuemin, and the entire action team can be said to be under Wang Yuemin's control. The most important intelligence team leader, Wang Jiaoyang, is also Wang Yuemin's cousin. The two largest and most important departments of Wuhan Station are both under the control of Wang Yuemin, which gives him great ambition to make achievements to give his seat in Nanjing a long face. Helplessly, although the Military Intelligence Department has indeed made repeated military achievements in the previous warlord civil war and received praise and appreciation from President Chang, it has not achieved any success in dealing with Japanese spies, especially when it comes to external affairs. Even the Japanese intelligence organization's password book that the headquarters telecommunications department has been longing for has not been seized to this day. Shangfeng wanted to achieve results, and as a subordinate, Chu Lingyun was no exception. That's why he tracked the suspected Japanese immigrant alone. After being injured, he was occupied by a makeup artist in later generations. Chu Lingyun withdrew his thoughts and carefully looked at the documents in front of him. The intelligence team has identified a Japanese spy and has confirmed his identity. The spy works at the Bexy Trading Company in the French concession, and tomorrow will be the day he meets with the online team. The task of Chu Lingyun's third team is to assist the intelligence team in arresting them when they meet. The task is not complicated, it can be seen that Wang Yuemin specially took care of him, and such a task can be easily completed. Capturing the real Japanese spy is definitely a great credit. If there is a greater harvest from following the trend, Chu Lingyun's rank as a second lieutenant may even go further. The intelligence is very detailed. Tomorrow's meeting is not within the concession, so such an arrest is not very difficult. For Chu Lingyun, as long as he takes good care of himself, it is enough. This is also Wang Yuemin's advice to him. The next morning, Chu Lingyun arrived at the office and gathered all his subordinates to inspect firearms and ammunition, preparing for today's operation. The Military Intelligence Department was established not long ago, but due to being a direct descendant of the principal, their treatment was very good. All members of their Wuhan Station operation team were equipped with Browning pistols, all of which were new. Leader Wang. The third team had just gathered when Chu Lingyun saw Wang Jiaoyang rushing in. Wang Jiaoyang was 3 years younger than Wang Yuemin and is now 31 years old. He was able to become the Colonel Intelligence Team leader at Wuhan Station, but Wang Yuemin put a lot of effort into him. Lingyun, today's action depends on you, but you need to work hard. Let's show our face together this time. Wang Jiaoyang immediately smiled when he saw Chu Lingyun. At Wuhan Station, Wang Jiaoyang is undoubtedly Wang Yuemin's top confidant, with Chu Lingyun ranking second. Although Chu Lingyun came the latest, Wang Yuemin highly valued him. The reason is simple. Chu Lingyun comes from a good background, is a graduate of Huangpu Military Academy, and is also from Zhejiang, and they are both from the same hometown. The other two team leaders of the action team, although also from Wang Yuemin, were slightly inferior in Wang Yuemin's heart because they were not graduates from Huangpu. Please rest assured, Captain Wang, that Lingyun guarantees to complete the task. Chu Lingyun suddenly stood up straight. This body has always been in the military and has long been accustomed to it. Even if he changed his soul now, Chu Lingyun still tried to maintain his previous habits as much as possible. I'm still at ease with your work, let's go. Wang Jiaoyang responded with a smile and got into a small car, while Chu Lingyun sat in the passenger seat of the nearby truck. His team members were all on the truck, and the two cars quickly drove outward. The car stopped outside Taiku Street, and everyone got off and walked around from Taiku Street to the nearby Chongtang Street. Chu Lingyun arranged his subordinates and entered the second floor of a tea house on Chongtang Street with Wang Jiaoyang. They found a room in Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, directly opposite a noodle shop. From this room, they could see everything in front of the noodle shop. The time at this time is 8 o'clock in the morning. Team leader, you're here. There are two members of the intelligence team in the room. When they saw Wang Jiaoyang, they immediately stood up and greeted him, nodding their heads to indicate to Chu Lingyun behind him. How is the situation? After entering the room, Wang Jiaoyang took the best observation position and looked out the window, asking his subordinates beside him. Everything is normal, the people from the second team have been following the target. In an hour, they will come to the noodle shop and meet up online. I just received a call, and the target has already departed from the French concession. The subordinates quickly reported, and Wang Jiaoyang didn't ask any further questions. He took Chu Lingyun to a nearby table and started drinking tea. Captain Wang, since we are certain that the other party is a spy, why not follow them for a few more days and find out more of their accomplices before capturing them? Holding a teacup, Chu Lingyun asked his doubts. Japanese spies are not easy to catch. When he found a Japanese spy, he naturally wanted to catch all of their online activities without leaving any future troubles. I also want to do this, but this Asakura Ono has been operating within the French concession. At most, our people in the French concession can only keep an eye on him, and sometimes we can't even keep an eye on him. In order to prevent him from falling off the network, the webmaster and I decided to take action early, catch him for a surprise investigation, and then attack their other intelligence networks. Wang Jiaoyang explained that Chu Lingyun no longer asked. Compared to the internet, eating the meat in his mouth is the key now. Moreover, the intelligence was obtained by the intelligence team, and the operation team was only responsible for following suit. It would be great if Wang Jiaoyang could explain to him. They just need to follow Wang Jiaoyang's instructions. Anyway, as long as the operation is successful, even if the intelligence team eats meat, their operation team can still enjoy soup. Chapter 2 is a bit incorrect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wang Yuemin attaches great importance to this action. Although he did not personally come over, he instructed Wang Jiaoyang to report any situation to him. Whether Wuhan Station can hold more weight in the hearts of those sitting here depends on this action. Wuhan Station is a major station in the Military Intelligence Department, and there are expansion plans in the near future. We urgently need a contribution to stop those who have objections to them from the military headquarters. At 8.50, Wang Jiaoyang stood in front of the window, staring intently outside. For him, this is also a very important action. He was somewhat reluctant to be promoted to lieutenant colonel before, and there were many rumors. If this action is successful and receives great credit, no one will dare to chew his tongue anymore. At 8.58, the target of this operation, Asakura Ono, appeared in front of the noodle shop. Asakura Ono, like many Japanese people of this era, is not tall, only about 1.6 meters. He is dressed in a Chinese long shirt, coarse cloth shoes, combed with a spiritual inch, and holding a briefcase in his hand, looking very like an intellectual. Asakura Ono looked around the door of the noodle shop, but did not see any abnormalities before entering. The area around the noodle shop is actually filled with Chu Lingyun subordinates. There is a cigarette vendor on the east side of the noodle shop, which is the loach in the team. This cigarette stall has always been there before, and Chu Lingyun ordered someone to temporarily rent it with money. The loach is very clever and always faces the noodle shop with its back. Even if Asakura Ono often comes here, he cannot find any problems. There is a yellow carriage across from the noodle shop, and the carriage driver is also from Chu Lingyun. There are many yellow vans in Wuhan, and there are often yellow vans stopping near the noodle shop, which is a very reasonable layout. The back door of the noodle shop was also guarded by two people arranged by Chu Lingyun to prevent the capture from failing inside, and Japanese spies escaped through the back door. Everything is ready except for the east wind, waiting for them to meet. At 9 o'clock in the morning, there were not many people at the noodle shop anymore, and only half of the tables were occupied. After entering the noodle shop, Asakura Ono found an empty table, ordered a bowl of shredded meat noodles, and took out a book to read, waiting to eat noodles. In no time, another person came to the table across from him. Soon, his noodles were brought up, and Asakura Ono put away his book and slowly ate the noodles in his bowl. From the window, there was no sign of any communication between them. "Captain Wang, I will personally command outside." Chu Lingyun was right behind Wang Jiaoyang, and when he saw that the target had already entered the noodle shop, he quickly spoke out. "Lingyun, what you have arranged is already perfect. There is no need to personally charge into the battle. Let's wait here together." Wang Jiaoyang, however, grabbed him and patiently advised. Wang Jiaoyang is aware that Chu Lingyun holds a significant position in his cousin's heart and hopes to cultivate him well to become his right-hand man in the future. The leader of the action team is the person of the station master Liao Wenwu. Although all three team leaders were arranged by Wang Yuemin, they were always separated by one layer. Wang Yuemin, who wants to showcase his skills, naturally does not allow such a situation to persist. Only when the intelligence and action teams are firmly in control can he better utilize his talents and have hope to go further. Thank you very much for Team Leader Wang's concern. This action is very important, so I'd better personally monitor it. Chu Lingyun declined Wang Jiaoyang's kindness and quickly left the room to the street outside. Capturing Japanese spies is not a small matter, and Wang Yuemin values this case so much. Chu Lingyun cannot let any mistakes in his actions. As Chu Lingyun hurriedly left, Wang Jiaoyang gently shook his head and said, "This Lingyun." After thinking for a moment, he was equally uneasy and followed Chu Lingyun outside. "Captain, why did you come?" Outside, guarding the perimeter, Shen Hanwen, a team member in charge of temporary command, saw Chu Lingyun and asked in surprise. In the action group, it has always been their subordinates who do these hard work, and officials have always kept a distance, afraid of encountering danger. "Did you remember all the goals?" Chu Lingyun didn't answer his question, but instead asked in reverse. Shen Hanwen's mind trembled and he immediately replied, "Remember, we've all seen the photos before and the target again. Now the target is completely under our surveillance." Chu Lingyun nodded and said, "That's good. Follow the pre-planned action, and once they finish taking over, immediately carry out the arrest. There must be no mistakes." Shen Hanwen quickly responded, "Captain, rest assured that there will be no mistakes." After they finished speaking, Wang Jiaoyang chased after them from behind. "Lingyun, you're walking really fast. Wang Jiaoyang chased after him. He wanted to personally watch Chu Lingyun. It's not easy to have a capable confidant these days. Chu Lingyun has no background, but comes from a clean and capable background. Wang Yuemin has high expectations for him. As Wang Yuemin's first confidant, Wang Jiaoyang naturally supports his cousin without reservation. Captain Wang. Chu Lingyun was a bit surprised when he saw Wang Jiaoyang following him. Wang Jiaoyang said, "I'm not at ease either. Let's take a look together." In front of the other team members, Wang Jiaoyang naturally wouldn't say it clearly. He was worried that Chu Lingyun might act impulsively and recklessly, and in case he was injured, it would be difficult for him to explain to his cousin. "Team leader, they have finished taking over. Wang Jiaoyang is here, and his subordinates have also followed him." The intelligence team members are very professional, and Asakura Ono and the person across from him did not have any conversation throughout the process. However, their small gesture of handing notes under the table failed to conceal the intelligence team members. As soon as Wang Jiaoyang looked at Chu Lingyun immediately said, "All right, tell the brothers not to shoot unless you can. You must catch them alive and take action immediately." With Chu Lingyun's order, 6 people immediately rushed into the noodle shop at the entrance. The mud loach selling cigarettes and the team disguised as the yellow carriage driver also rushed to the door. Just as Asakura Ono finished his noodles, the person rushing in pressed his head onto the table, and 3 Browning pistols simultaneously pressed against his head. His accomplice across from him also couldn't escape, and the other 3 team members firmly held him down. The 2 were instantly subdued. During this period, the quality of the members of the Military Statistics Bureau was still very high, and the members of the action team were mostly selected experts from the military. With so many people working together, they cleanly captured both of them. Having caught someone, Wang Jiaoyang ignored Chu Lingyun and immediately ran towards the noodle shop. Chu Lingyun followed over, but his gaze swept around. Due to the arrest operation of the noodle shop, some onlookers have begun to gather around. Today's action was indeed very smooth, but Chu Lingyun had some doubts in his past life, which caused him to constantly look around. Suddenly, a man wearing a felt hat on the west side of the noodle shop lowered his hat, turned around, and walked out at a fast speed. Chu Lingyun immediately chased outside, but the entrance was already blocked by onlookers. By the time Chu Lingyun caught up at the intersection, the man had already disappeared without a trace. Chu Lingyun has very good eyesight. I remember when the man's hat was pressed down, there seemed to be a scar at the corner of his eye. However, because he lowered his head, he couldn't see his true appearance clearly. This felt hat man must have a problem. Ordinary people, even if they have something to do and want to leave, will turn back 3 times in a step. They won't see anyone notice them and leave immediately. In the noodle shop, Wang Jiaoyang had already arrived at the table, and the members of the action team pulled their heads hard so that Wang Jiaoyang could see their faces clearly. Asakura Ono Wang's family Liang had already seen him in secret, and just now he saw him at the window. Now he's just here to confirm his identity. "It's him, take it away." The arrest went smoothly, and Wang Jiaoyang was very happy that the person was caught. The next step is to quickly interrogate and capture more Japanese spies. This will be a tremendous achievement. Team leader, this is the intelligence they have connected. The intelligence team approached and searched for the note just passed by Asakura Ono from the contact person. They didn't even look at it and handed it directly to Wang Jiaoyang. This is the ironclad evidence of their spy. Wang Jiaoyang immediately took it over and walked aside before carefully opening it. Taking a glance, his eyebrows immediately furrowed tightly together. Team up. Chu Lingyun was unable to find the man with the felt hat, which was a bit regrettable. He could only command his subordinates to go back. Fortunately, the Japanese spy who was watching had already been caught, and the person who was in contact with him had also been caught. But if the man in the felt hat just now belonged to their group, it would probably be difficult to dig deeper in the future. We have caught someone, but no one has been injured yet. The mission can be said to be a complete success. The members of the action team happily escorted the 2 people out, and the 2 people who were caught have been skillfully bound. Binding people is the basic skill of the action team. When Chu Lingyun left, he noticed that Wang Jiaoyang's face was not so pretty. However, the operation team is only responsible for arresting people, and Chu Lingyun did not inquire in detail. Once the person was caught, they were taken back to the interrogation room and their task was completed. The next interrogation and the important intelligence obtained from the interrogation are all the work of the intelligence team, and have nothing to do with their operation team. Returning to the military intelligence department, everyone in the 3 squads of Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com was still very excited, but everyone remembered the confidentiality rules. When they met the others here, no one said anything. It wasn't until the office that they enthusiastically discussed the action just now. Before returning, Wang Jiaoyang called Wang Yuemin. Wang Yuemin was already waiting outside the interrogation room, and he had to personally interrogate the Japanese spy case. Webmaster, there seems to be something wrong with the situation. Seeing Wang Yuemin, Wang Jiaoyang walked over first, lowered his head, and whispered. Wang Yuemin was very puzzled and asked, "What's going on? What's wrong? Take a look at this." Wang Jiaoyang handed over the emotional newspaper strip collected from the contact person. Wang Yuemin opened it and saw that the corners of his eyebrows were also deeply condensed together. The content on the note completely surprised Wang Yuemin. It was written in Chinese characters. New to 1,000 gallons of gasoline, 3 yuan and 1 jiao per gallon, new to 6 Chevrolet cars, 3 yuan and 3 yuan per car, new to 5,000 cigars, 8 jiao per car. What is this? Wang Yuemin raised his head and asked in surprise. This is the intelligence they connected. I have personally searched for the 2 people, only this note. Our people have seen the intelligence they connected with, and that's it. Wang Jiaoyang quickly said that when he saw the content of the note earlier, he felt something was wrong and went to search for himself. However, on their bodies, only this note with something written on it was found, and everything else was normal. Wang Yuemin thought for a moment and immediately ordered, "Take it to the technical team for verification and see if there is any other information." "Let's go, I will personally interrogate." "Yes." Wang Jiaoyang quickly responded and handed the note to the other members of the intelligence team, while he followed Wang Yuemin into the interrogation room. Chapter 3. Commercial Spy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Captain, you have tea. As soon as Chu Lingyun entered the office, the Loach filled his teacup and happily brought it to him. Mud Loach is not very old, and his nickname is Zhao San. Mud Loach is his nickname. His thin and small figure really looks a bit like Mud Loach. In the office, he is also not smooth. Don't try to find him when working, but he flatters others and performs well. He definitely ranks first. Among the 3 action teams, the Loach is the most informed one. He has long known that Chu Lingyun is valued by Wang Yuemin and has a bright future ahead. So don't be fooled by Chu Lingyun's young age and late arrival. When others are still dissatisfied, only the Loach is there. Every time they see Chu Lingyun come in, they will run forward and leave, and without waiting for orders, they will help Chu Lingyun do everything. Everyone worked hard today. I'll treat everyone to a drink tonight. Chu Lingyun stood at his desk and said to everyone around him. The office suddenly cheered, saying that the action was completed very well today, and no one was injured after making contributions. The team leader also wants to invite everyone to drink now, bringing double happiness to the door. Inviting all team members to dinner was not a sudden idea of Chu Lingyun, but a thought he had had a few days ago when he was recovering from his injuries. Before crossing over, Chu Lingyun was a graduate of the Huangpu Military Academy. He was arrogant and had no interest in these high-ranking soldiers. After half a month at the military intelligence department, he never thought about doing anything to his subordinates. Now that Chu Lingyun has changed his soul, he naturally understands the importance of building good relationships with his subordinates. Even if you want to make achievements, you cannot do without the support of these subordinates in the future. Inviting them to a meal is nothing. In the interrogation room, before being executed, Asakura Ono confessed everything. Just his explanation made Wang Yuemin's face extremely gloomy. According to Asakura Ono, he was indeed a spy, appointed by Yamada Yoichi, the owner of the Yamada Foreign Company in the Japanese concession, to infiltrate the Bihi Foreign Company in the French concession and seize the opportunity to steal its commercial intelligence. And the person who contacted him today is Yuki Endo, the general manager of Yamada Trading Company, who informed him of a recent batch of goods and purchase prices from Beishi Trading Company. The things written on the previous note were all the products and prices recently received by Beishi Trading Company. At this moment, the intelligence team members hurriedly walked in and lowered their heads to Wang Jiaoyang, saying, "Leader, the technical team called and there were only those words on the note without any other abnormalities." He didn't speak loudly, but Wang Yuemin was right beside him, so naturally everyone heard him. With the explanation from Asakura Ono, Wang Yuemin was very disappointed. Wang Jiaoyang felt even more uneasy in his heart. Since they discovered Asakura Ono, they had been following him for a full month. If it weren't for him constantly operating within the French concession, he might not have been arrested so quickly. As a result, the other party was indeed a spy, but had no connection to them as a commercial spy. What they want is military espionage, commercial espionage is not their business at all. This time, it takes so much time and effort, which is equivalent to a futile effort. Wang Yu left the interrogation room with a popular flick of his sleeve, and in the afternoon, the entire military intelligence department was filled with a strange atmosphere. "Captain, have you heard about it? The two we caught this morning were commercial spies, not the people we wanted. The Japanese consulate has already protested, saying that we will randomly arrest their legitimate businessmen." The Loach mysteriously approached Chu Lingyun's desk and whispered, "Business spies." Chu Lingyun showed a hint of surprise. His action team was most proficient in the news of the Loach. Just as he was about to ask, the phone on the table suddenly rang. "Webmaster, it's me, yes, I'll go over right now." The phone was called by Wang Yuemin, with a low tone. Chu Lingyun put down the phone and didn't bother to inquire about the details of the Loach. He immediately went to Wang Yuemin's office. In the military intelligence department, his backstage is Wang Yuemin, which can be said to be his thigh. He is well aware of the social and public situation of this era, and if there is no one covering him up, even if there is merit, it will be useless. Upon arriving at Wang Yuemin's office, Chu Lingyun noticed that Wang Jiaoyang was also present, just standing there with his head lowered and his face not looking good. "Lingyun, go to the interrogation team now and bring up Asakura Ono and Endo Yuki. Endo Yuki will release them directly, and Asakura Ono will be sent to the French concession patrol room." Seeing Chu Lingyun enter, Wang Yuemin's face slightly improved. Although there was an uproar this time, the capture of military spies resulted in the capture of commercial spies. Chu Lingyun's performance was commendable, and he did a very good job in his actions. Wang Jiaoyang made a mistake, but Chu Lingyun didn't. As a result, he asked Chu Lingyun to help him wipe his butt. When Wang Yuemin spoke to Chu Lingyun, his tone became much gentler. "Yes, webmaster, I'll go handle it right away." Chu Lingyun immediately responded, recalling what the Loach had just told him. Chu Lingyun immediately understood that the news about the Loach was true, and it seemed that the intelligence team had really made a fool of themselves this time. At the same time, he also understood why Wang Jiaoyang's face was so ugly after the task was completed. It is estimated that he knew he had caught the wrong person at that time. After receiving Wang Yuemin's warrant, Chu Lingyun went directly to the interrogation room to bring up the person. Endo Yugue was fine, and everything was intact, indicating that he had not been punished. Asakura Ono, on the other hand, is different. His body is covered in bloodstains, his face is bruised, and his glasses are nowhere to be seen. He completely lacks the image of an intellectual in the morning. Ono is a Japanese citizen, you should return it to us in Japan, not to the French. When Endo Yuki came out, he was still shouting, but Chu Lingyun ignored him. After bringing him out, he directly had someone deliver him to the gate, while he took Asakura Ono into the small car. After all, Asakura Ono is a commercial spy, and the French don't know where they learned this news. The French concession patrol room specifically called and requested the military intelligence department to hand over Asakura Ono to them. Wang Yuemin was very upset about this matter, and as soon as the important person in the French concession agreed. The driver was driving, with Chu Lingyun and Asakura Ono sitting in the back seat. Asakura Ono was handcuffed, his head tilted back, and his eyes closed. When Chu Lingyun looked at him, he noticed a faint smile on the corner of his mouth. It's like satire, looking for a book garden at www.zhaoshuyuan.com feels like pride. Mr. Ono's concealment is really good, even the military intelligence personnel couldn't see anything unusual. Chu Lingyun suddenly spoke in Japanese, and his pure Kansai accent made Asakura Ono open his eyes and look at Chu Lingyun in surprise. After a few seconds, he replied in Japanese, "What did you say?" "It's nothing," I said, Mr. Ono. "We'll see each other again in the future." Chu Lingyun turned around and thought of the felt hat man in the morning. Chu Lingyun could confirm that there was still a problem with this shallow green field, and he was by no means a simple commercial spy. Even business spies don't need to be so secretive about their connections, and when he asked earlier, Asakura Ono disguised himself well, but when he heard his question, his pupils still slightly contracted. In his past life, Chu Lingyun imitated celebrities. His superb makeup skills could transform him into a face almost identical to that of a celebrity. Many female fans jokingly claimed that marrying him was equivalent to marrying the entire entertainment industry. But only having a similar appearance is not enough. Whenever he speaks or even moves, he will expose himself. Therefore, he has specially trained for a period of time. Not only does he imitate his face, but also his eye movements, and even his voice and tone of speech are lifelike. It is precisely in this way that he can rely on online live streaming to attract a large number of female fans. And during his studies, he specially trained micro-expressions, although not the professional kind, but general emotional discrimination can already distinguish them. Asakura Ono's subtle movements just now indicated his nervousness, indicating that the question just now indeed hit the nail on the head. Asakura Ono was a bit confused and didn't understand what Chu Lingyun was saying. The other person's Japanese was too standard. If it weren't for him knowing Chu Lingyun's identity, he would even mistake him for Japanese. Chapter 4. Returning to the site again. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The car drove all the way into the French concession and arrived at the entrance of the patrol room. Outside the gate, there were several detectives waiting for Chu Lingyun. The leader was a man in his 30s, wearing a black patrol uniform. When Chu Lingyun got off the car, he greeted him with a smile. "But Captain Chu has arrived, I am Gao Xingliang." The man bowed to Chu Lingyun with a fist, and Chu Lingyun returned with a military salute. "I'm Chu Lingyun." "Hello, Detective Gao." Chu Lingyun had never seen Gao Xingliang before, but he had heard of him as a Chinese detective in the French concession. He was very influential in the French concession and deeply trusted by the French. "Captain Chu, you're welcome. We'll handle the handover now." Chu Lingyun came to see him off, and Gao Xingliang did not show much courtesy to him. After Gao Xingliang signed, Asakura Ono officially handed over to their patrol room. "How are you going to deal with Asakura Ono?" Putting away the documents, Chu Lingyun casually asked. Gao Xingliang looked around and sighed slightly, "What else can we do? Look at what the boss means, but Mr. Henry, the owner of Beishi Foreign Company, is very dissatisfied. If the Japanese have a better attitude, they can still redeem the person. If it's not good, it's probably hanging. Can Japanese people still redeem people? Chu Lingyun asked. Gao Zhengliang nodded and said, it's not a big case, it's just a commercial spy. Of course, you can redeem someone. I understand, thank you very much, Detective Gao. Chu Lingyun watched as Asakura Ono was taken into the patrol room by them before leaving. After the car drove out of the French concession, Chu Lingyun immediately asked the driver to stop and called the team at a nearby restaurant using a public phone. I'm Chu Lingyun, let the Loach answer the phone. Captain, I'm a Loach. Do you have any instructions? The voice of the Loach quickly came over the phone. You go to the French concession immediately and inquire with me about how the patrol room learned about Asakura Ono's arrest and where they got the news from. Captain, don't worry, I'll go now and I'll get back to you soon. The Loach received the order and readily agreed. Chu Lingyun put down the phone and did not return to the team. Instead, he asked the driver to take him to the noodle shop where he was arrested in the morning. He arrived at the position of the felt hat man in the morning and looked around. In no time, he arrived at a shoe polishing stall at the intersection. This shoe polishing stall was not far from the noodle shop, and its location was very good, allowing him to see everything about the noodle shop. If he wants to observe the noodle shop, this location is definitely his first choice. Boss, do you shine your shoes? The vendor of the shoe polishing stall was a young man. When he saw Chu Lingyun, he immediately greeted him with a smile. Chu Lingyun looked at the leather shoes on his feet and sat there, actively raising his legs to let him polish them. When polishing shoes here, just turn your head and you can see everything in the noodle shop. May I ask you something? Have you ever seen a man wearing a black hat near here between 8:50 and 9:10 this morning? Look at what you're asking, there are so many people coming and going here, and there are many people wearing hats. I can't even notice them, and I don't have a watch, I don't know the time. The vendor quickly wiped his leather shoes and answered Chu Lingyun's question with a grin. Chu Lingyun took out a piece of fiat coin from his body. At this time, the fiat coin had just been launched and was still very strong. One piece of fiat coin was close to the purchasing power of $1 silver. When the noodle shop was catching people in the morning, you carefully recall and tell me the truth, this dollar is all yours. Thank you, boss. I'll think about it. The vendor quickly took the money and laughed even harder. I remember that a boss with a hat came to me this morning. He didn't clean his shoes, but repaired them. There was a scar next to his left eye. When I asked him what was going on, he said it was a fall, but I could tell it wasn't a fall, it was a knife wound. How can you be sure it's a knife wound? Chu Lingyun asked with great interest. To be honest with my boss, my family used to have a generation of traditional Chinese medicine. I can still tell what's going on with simple skin injuries. Unfortunately, in my generation, I didn't learn well from my father when I was a child. My father died early, so I had to come out to clean my shoes. Otherwise, I could have become a doctor and be respected. The vendor wiped his shoes and said, that person saw the noodle shop grabbing someone and left without even fixing their shoes. Fortunately, he paid in advance. In no time, Chu Lingyun finished polishing his leather shoes. His craftsmanship was good, and the shoes became shiny after being polished, making Chu Lingyun look a bit more energetic. Chu Lingyun's heart twitched slightly and suddenly asked, are you fixed here polishing shoes, or are you occasionally here? Looking at the huge shoe polishing fee given by Chu Lingyun, the vendor answered every question. I have a fixed booth and there are also mobile ones, but this location is good, so I don't have to run around to polish people's shoes. Do you have many people polishing shoes? Chu Lingyun asked again. Many, of course many. There are over 300 people polishing shoes in the entire Hankow area. With so many people in Hankow, there are many people who need us as shoemakers. So, I'll give you a chance to make money. Do you want it? Chu Lingyun stood up and stared straight at the vendor. The vendor laughed even more and immediately nodded, saying, "Boss, you're so generous. If you could give me a chance to make money, that would give me face. Of course I want it." Chu Lingyun took out a pen from his pocket, found another piece of paper, and wrote as he spoke, "Tell all the shoe polishers that if you see this man with a scar in his left eye again, call him immediately. As long as you can find this person, you can get a reward of 20 yuan. After speaking, Chu Lingyun took out 5 yuan and handed it to the shoemaker. "I'll give you these 5 yuan as your hard-earned allowance, but you have to promise them that you can find someone to call and don't say anything else, let alone ask." "Okay, boss, don't worry, I will definitely arrange everything for you. You can earn 20 yuan. These people are not going crazy yet. Go find them." The shoeshine first wiped his hands and happily received the 5 yuan handed over by Chu Lingyun from Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. He can only earn a few dollars a day by polishing his shoes here, and now he's just passing on a message to his brothers. The money is also too easy to earn. If he could meet that scarred man, he could earn 20 yuan on his own, which is equivalent to earning an extra sum of extra income. Don't deliberately look for it, just call when you encounter it. Remember, this matter needs to be kept confidential. If there is a mistake, I will only ask you. When Chu Lingyun spoke, he deliberately revealed the Browning pistol he was wearing at his waist. Seeing the gun, the smile on the shoeshine's face instantly disappeared. "Boss, don't worry, I know what to do." The reason why Chu Lingyun mobilized all the shoe polishers was not a sudden idea. In what the shoeshine had just said, Chu Lingyun noticed a detail. In the morning, the felt hat man's shoes were not completely repaired, so he hurriedly left. In that case, he may continue to repair shoes at the shoe repair booth. Even if it can't be found, there won't be much loss for Chu Lingyun, but it's a matter of spending a few more yuan. After instructing the shoemaker, Chu Lingyun stood up and returned to the military intelligence department in the car. As for the felt hat man who appeared in the morning, Chu Lingyun couldn't completely confirm that he was an accomplice of Asakura Ono and Endo Yuki, but could only confirm that he must have a problem. Of course, it is also possible that this person is carrying something behind their back, so when they see someone paying attention, they should leave immediately. However, doing intelligence is different from doing other things. Any suspicious point should be noted, even if there is a small suspicion, it should be investigated. Chu Lingyun also thought that this person may be from the Red Party, so he did not arrange for personnel from the military intelligence department to investigate. It was most suitable to find external personnel. If he was truly from the Red Party, he could make proper arrangements to avoid accidental injury. Chapter 5. Continued Investigation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Returning to the military intelligence department, Chu Lingyun first arrived at Wang Yuemin's office, tidied up his clothes and hair at the door, and then knocked on the door. "Come in." Wang Yuemin's voice came from inside, but it sounded weak. "Station master, the person has been sent to the patrol room." The Chinese detective of the patrol room, Gao Zhengliang, said that the Japanese may redeem the person. Chu Lingyun stood at Wang Yuemin's desk, giving a simple and clear report. "Whatever they do, don't tell me about this. You've been busy all day, go rest now." Wang Yuemin is rubbing his head. He is in a bad mood, and his mood is even worse. This Japanese spy case, which he personally supervised and closely monitored every step of the way, ultimately resulted in a big mistake. He is now struggling with how to report the results to the authorities in Nanjing. Now he is extremely regretful. Why did he think of inviting credit and informing the headquarters of this case in advance when there was no result before, and as a result, he received attention from everyone. As a result, he couldn't move up or down, and if the office knew that the case was messed up, he would definitely not be able to get away with a scolding. "Webmaster, I think this case can be further discussed. Think about why the business spies' connections are so secretive, which is not in line with convention. Chu Lingyun whispered, Wang Yuemin is really good to Chu Lingyun. If anyone else dares to talk about this case in front of him at this time, he will definitely shout it out. Wang Yuemin waved weakly and said, if you want to follow, don't waste too much energy on this case. Yes, webmaster, then I'll go out first. Wang Yuemin was in a bad mood, and Chu Lingyun didn't say much to him. He gently helped him close the door and quickly left. Returning to his own office, as he entered, the originally lively voice immediately turned into silence. Chu Lingyun understood that this was because they had not truly accepted him yet. Previously, Chu Lingyun was too arrogant and did not even consider these subordinates. After crossing over, he could only slowly change everything. Ringing bell. Not long after returning, the phone on the desk rang, and there was only one phone in the entire large office, right on Chu Lingyun's desk. Chu Lingyun answered the phone and said in a deep voice, I'm Chu Lingyun, who is there? Captain, I am a loach. I have learned about the matter you explained. The patrol room only asked us for the person after receiving a complaint from Henry, the owner of Beishi Foreign Company. How did Henry, the owner of Beishi Foreign Company, know about the arrest of Asakura Ono? How did you know he was a commercial spy? Although there was a lot of activity during the morning arrests, this era is not the internet world of later generations. A small matter instantly spread throughout the world, and the noodle shop where the arrests were made is not close to the French concession. Please work harder and continue to investigate. How did Henry know about this? Chu Lingyun instructed the loach, saying that although the loach is smooth, he is very agile and well informed. Among the 14 members of the 3 teams, he has the strongest ability to gather intelligence. Yes, Captain, I'll go investigate now. Hanging up the phone, Chu Lingyun opened the file in front of him and carefully flipped through the contents inside. After leaving Wang Yuemin's office, he specifically went to ask Wang Jiaoyang for the file. He has already obtained Wang Yuemin's approval and can continue with this case. There is no problem asking for the file. Wang Jiaoyang was causing a lot of trouble for this case, and Chu Lingyun was willing to take over. He couldn't help but give him the file directly. Asakura Ono is an employee of Beishi Trading Company, and the information he transmitted this time is also the purchasing information of Beishi Trading Company. At first glance, there is no problem, and this is a very simple commercial leak behavior. But since Chu Lingyun has doubts, he will not let any clues slip by. He quickly discovered the problem, and in the morning, Chu Lingyun pulled out the intelligence note they were in contact with, staring straight at the content on it. This business intelligence is very simple, only the purchase quantity and price of Beishi Foreign Company's cars, gasoline, and cigars. However, the intelligence team did not verify whether the 3 types of goods actually arrived at Beishi Trading Company and whether they were the prices stated in the intelligence. Since Yamada Yokohama has stolen this intelligence, it must have the same product. Otherwise, what would be the use of such intelligence? This point was also not verified by the intelligence team. This is definitely a loophole in the intelligence team, not only for them, but also for Wang Yuemin. After learning that they had caught a commercial spy, Wang Yuemin and Wang Jiaoyang messed up and carelessly let go of these doubts. He raised his hand and looked at his watch. When there was still time in the afternoon, he immediately shouted, Chinese, come over here for a moment. Shen Hanwen suddenly stood up from his seat and walked quickly to Chu Lingyun's desk. Take a few brothers with you and immediately go to the Beishi Trading Company in the French concession to check what their products are, with a focus on cars, gasoline, and cigars. Try to find out their recent purchase quantities and prices as much as possible. Find Shuyuan at www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Chu Lingyun instructed that the most suitable person to investigate these is the loach, but at this time, the loach has other tasks and can only be checked by other people first. Yes, Captain. Shen Hanwen stood up straight and directly saluted to receive the task. After thinking for a moment, Chu Lingyun said again, don't reveal your identity during the investigation. Conduct a secret investigation. If you can't find it, come back early and don't delay the dinner tonight. Chu Lingyun will continue to investigate this case, but we cannot startle the enemy. I understand, Captain, rest assured that I will never let them know that someone is investigating them. Shen Hanwen repeatedly promised that Chu Lingyun had let go of his worries and asked him to take the two of them back quickly. Beishi Trading Company had Shen Hanwen verify, and Chu Lingyun entrusted the task of investigating Yamada Trading Company to two other team members. Compared to Beishi Trading Company, Yamada Trading Company's investigation is much simpler, as long as they find out what products they sell. Just verifying the authenticity of their business intelligence is not enough. Chu Lingyun continued to flip through the files to see if he could find more loopholes and clues. According to the records in the file, Asakura Ono was spotted by the intelligence team because he had previously inquired about warships on the dock. But at that time, he didn't get any useful information. Asano was a Japanese who worked in a French foreign firm. There was no evidence to catch him rashly, which could easily lead to diplomatic disputes. The intelligence team only set out to catch big fish and secretly investigate him. But during the tracking process, he managed to shake it off several times. Hard work pays off for those who are willing. After a month of surveillance by the intelligence team, they finally gained a lot. They obtained the intelligence he was supposed to meet up with this morning and mastered the time and location of the meeting. At this time, Wang Yuemin ordered the arrest to be carried out. Chapter 6. Discovering Problems. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just looking at the front, Wang Yuemin was not wrong, and he did it very well. Intelligence work requires patience. But after learning that he was caught as a commercial spy, Wang Yuemin was clearly severely affected, to the extent that he easily let Asakura Ono go and let all his previous efforts go to waste. Asakura Ono definitely has a problem, he cannot be a pure commercial spy. The intelligence team is not an action team, and the action team can always select good players from the military to supplement. However, the members of the intelligence team are all selected layer by layer and undergo strict training, making them all elites. Now is not the time for the later expansion of the military intelligence department. At this time, the professional quality of the military intelligence department is still very high. Being able to make such professionals lose track is enough to prove that Asakura Ono has a certain level of anti-tracking ability, which is not something that commercial spies can do. It's not that Chu Lingyun looks down on commercial spies. The professional quality of commercial spies during this period is really average. As an intelligence officer, Chu Lingyun must strictly investigate even if there is only a slight hint of error, let alone have obvious loopholes. Especially for Japanese spies, since God sent him to this period and gave him such an identity, he will do his best to help his country and people. As a descendant, Chu Lingyun was very clear that there were indeed a large number of Japanese espionage activities during this period, and he repeatedly obtained important intelligence, which dealt a serious blow to the anti-Japanese war caused throughout the country. This is his battlefield, and he will try his best to capture these lurking bugs within the country and completely eliminate them. Ringing bells. The phone on the table rang again, and Chu Lingyun reached out and picked up the microphone. Captain, I am the Loach and we have found it. Mr. Henry received an anonymous phone call around 10 o'clock in the morning, informing him that Asakura Ono of the foreign firm was a commercial spy who betrayed their business intelligence and was arrested by our people. Mr. Henry found the patrol room and asked them to retrieve the person, and personally punish this traitor. The ability of Loaches is indeed good, and the specific reason was found in such a short time. Henry learned the news through an anonymous phone call, which had a big problem. Who would tell Henry such news? The arrest was only carried out at 9 o'clock, and the person told him around 10 o'clock, and he received the news as soon as possible. More importantly, what is the purpose of the person calling to report? After thinking of these doubts, Chu Lingyun said directly, Loach, go to the phone station again and check who called Henry to report. The person making the phone call is very important. By finding him, we can uncover these suspicious points. Yes, Captain, I'll go right away. A new task was assigned to the Loach, and Chu Lingyun looked at his watch. It was almost 4:30 p.m. and time was tight. At 4:15, the person investigating Yamada Yoko returned to the office first. Yamada Yokohama operates a wide range of products, including Yokohama soap, gasoline, cigars, and more, but without cars, the Japanese automotive industry was not yet developed in this era. Currently, the main cars sold in China are mostly European and American brands. Without a car, why do you need business intelligence on cars and resell them? It is impossible to resell cars. There are not many foreign companies selling cars in Hankow, and they know each other well. No one would buy such intelligence. Not long after they returned, Shen Hanwen and his group also returned to the office. Captain, I disguised myself as a merchant and learned from Beishi Trading Company that they do indeed have cars, gasoline, and cigars. However, recently they only have gasoline and cigars in stock, and cars are not. This is the quantity and price I secretly found out. Shen Hanwen handed over a piece of paper with not only the prices of the 3 commodities that Chu Lingyun had instructed, but also a list of other goods from Beishi Trading Company. Well done, you should go rest first. Chu Lingyun stared at the price on the note and immediately realized the problem. The purchase prices of 3 types of goods, including cars, gasoline, and cigars, did not match the commercial intelligence provided by Asakura Ono. The last time cars were purchased was several months ago. After all, cars are luxury items, and in this era, there are still a few people who can afford cars. Chu Lingyun has concluded that the so-called commercial intelligence is simply fake, and the core content of this intelligence is still military intelligence, only disguised with the outer layer of commercial intelligence. These days spies are really cunning. No wonder the military intelligence department repeatedly encountered obstacles when dealing with them. Even experienced Wang Yuemin and Wang Jiaoyang were deceived by them this time. Chu Lingyun took out the intelligence they had in contact with again and carefully analyzed it. The content above is definitely a code word, specifically referring to what it means. It is almost impossible to understand it without a code word password book. As for Asakura Ono and Endo Yuki, one is in the French patrol room and the other has returned to the Japanese concession. It is not easy to catch them again. However, Asakura Ono and Endo Yuki are both fish that have emerged from the surface of the water. They may not be caught now, but they must be caught first and not allowed to escape. For Chu Lingyun, the most important thing at the moment is still the person who called Henry. He is the hidden bug in the dark. If you find him, you may gain even more by visiting the book garden www.zhaozuiyuan.com. Just as I was thinking about it, the phone call from the Loach came. Captain, I am at the telephone office and it has been found that there is a call to Mr. Henry at 10:10 a.m. It is a public phone that belongs to the remote trading company. Public phone, Chu Lingyun is not surprised. At this time, it is only through the phone that fools use their own phones to communicate information. At this time, it was already 5 p.m. and the commercial bank to which the public telephone belonged should not have closed yet. Chu Lingyun immediately asked, "Can you immediately ask where the remote commercial bank is?" It's very easy for Chu Lingyun to check a business, but it takes time. The Loach is at the telephone station, where he can easily find the installation address of the public phone, making it faster for him to ask questions. Captain, please don't hang up and wait for me. In just over 2 minutes, the Loach gave an address, and Chu Lingyun took out a map of the city and quickly found the location of the remote commercial shop. This is not far from their military intelligence office, and it only takes 20 minutes by car. Hanwen, please call Zixiangji to book 2 rooms. After work, you can go over first. Chu Lingyun packed his things and gave orders to Shen Hanwen. Zixiangji is the best restaurant near them. He had promised to invite all the team members to drink tonight. Although the intelligence team had an upset and caused a loss of face, Chu Lingyun would not break the promise to his team members. Yes, Captain. Shen Hanwen received the order, and the members of the action team were very good at this. They were all trained in the army and strictly followed the orders of their superiors. Even those who were dissatisfied with Chu Lingyun dared not be careless when facing the task. Chapter 7. Setting Goals. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chu Lingyun drove alone and quickly arrived at the remote commercial store. This is a relatively small business, and it is about to close. There is not a single customer inside, only an old shopkeeper sitting bored at the counter. The public phone is placed at the edge of the counter, and you can make calls as soon as you enter the door. After Chu Lingyun entered, he threw out 2 yuan and took out his pistol from under his clothes, aiming it at the old shopkeeper. The pistol had clothes in front of it, and only the old shopkeeper could see it himself. People outside thought they were having a normal conversation. Let me ask you something. To be honest, the money belongs to you. If you're not honest, take a bullet. Chu Lingyun said coldly. In fact, the safety of the gun was not activated, it was purely a bluff. The old shopkeeper didn't understand these things and trembled with fear. He immediately stood up straight and said in a trembling voice, "You ask, I know everything without hesitation. At 10:10 a.m., someone called you before, do you remember?" "Yes, there's an impression," the old shopkeeper quickly nodded. "As long as you have an impression," Chu Lingyun immediately asked, "what does the person who called in the morning look like? Do you remember what he said?" The old shopkeeper quickly nodded and said, remember, that person was wearing a hat and had a scar at the corner of his eye. He made 2 phone calls. The first one said, Uncle San's chicken cubs were taken away by an eagle, and I asked what to do. The second one was in foreign language, and I couldn't understand. What color hat and style of clothing are you wearing? Chu Lingyun immediately asked. The black hat looks like a yellow long shirt, the old shopkeeper said again. Chu Lingyun asked again, how did you remember what he said so clearly? The shopkeeper's ability to remember people's appearance is not surprising to Chu Lingyun. These business people have very cunning eyes, so there is no problem remembering people. I didn't expect him to remember the content of the phone call so clearly, which is questionable. The shopkeeper let out a bitter smile and said, my shop is not big, and there aren't many people around. When people come to make phone calls, I often eavesdrop and say something to pass the time. Bored enough to eavesdrop on a customer's phone. This shopkeeper has some quirks, but it dispels Chu Lingyun's doubts. Don't tell anyone about today's situation. Chu Lingyun gave orders to the old shopkeeper and hurriedly returned without taking the money from the counter. On the phone, it turned out that the person calling was the felt hat man. Chu Lingyun had already felt that the felt hat man was strange, and this time it was finally confirmed that he was with the group of Asakura Ono. Others on site must have known that Asakura Ono had an accident. Afterwards, he arrived at a place quite far from the scene and made 2 phone calls. The first call was easy to guess, it was after Asakura Ono and his team had an accident, and he asked what to do. As for the second phone call, it was made to Henry, who was French, and it was not surprising that he spoke English. He looked at the time in the car and it was already 5:30. After some thought, he personally went to the phone station to check where the felt hat man's first call went. The person who answered the phone was also crucial, most likely guiding the felt hat man in his next actions, including calling Henry to report. The number found was a private phone number, and after recording the installation address, Chu Lingyun left the phone station. Zixiangji, all the members of the third team have arrived and sat down at the table in the largest private room, chatting and waiting for Chu Lingyun to return. Chu Lingyun has been with their third team for quite some time, and this is the first time he has invited all the team members to drink. Captain, you're here. As soon as Chu Lingyun entered, the excited Loach was the first to greet him and pulled him to sit in the main seat, which was specially reserved for Chu Lingyun by everyone. "Did you order?" Chu Lingyun sat down and asked with a smile. "Not yet, I'm waiting for you, Captain." The loach immediately replied. "Why don't you order the dishes?" "It's your mistake. The loach should go and order the dishes, have them bring all the best hard dishes, and a few bottles of top-quality wine." Chu Lingyun laughed and cursed at the loach. The loach stumbled and ran to order food. He had been running outside this afternoon and was already hungry, eager to serve food earlier. In Chinese, drink less later and go out with me tonight. Chu Lingyun gave another command to Shen Hanwen. Shen Hanwen was a reconnaissance soldier with strong tracking ability. Shen Hanwen responded and said that in the military intelligence department, it's not that there won't be any problems after work. Overtime is a common occurrence, and it's normal to stay up all night when there are tasks. Chu Lingyun is still thinking about the case. The first phone call made by the felt hat man is crucial. He is going to investigate tonight to see who the felt hat man made his first phone call to. Having enough wine and food, a meal cost Chu Lingyun about 10 yuan. In this era, 10 yuan is not a small fraction. In an ordinary family of 4 in Hankow, 3 or 4 yuan is enough for a month's living expenses. If you live a tight life in the countryside, even 1 yuan can last for a month. Spending more money has a significant effect. The members of the third team were no longer so resistant to him, and Chu Lingyun clearly felt that the distance between them had become closer. After dinner, Chu Lingyun took Shen Hanwen and Loach to Jinsan Lane. Zhaoshuyuan.com. It's really right to have a golden character on Jinsan Lane. This is a gathering point in the wealthy area, where many wealthy businessmen live. There are many households installing telephones here, and almost everyone has one. Arriving at the address checked by the telephone bureau, there were no lights in the yard. After conducting a reconnaissance around the area, Chu Lingyun led his team to leave. In Chinese, remember the place just now. If it's not dawn tomorrow, take someone to go and watch. Keep an eye on both the front and back doors, bring 2 cameras, take pictures of all the people entering and exiting there, and investigate their identities. The most important thing is the owner's identity. On the way back, Chu Lingyun assigned Shen Hanwen a new task. The man-to-man intelligence team is skilled, but their operational team is also not bad, especially Shen Hanwen. When it comes to man-to-man, they are definitely not inferior to those in the intelligence team. Shen Hanwen immediately replied, "Yes, Captain, but the camera can only be collected after the general affairs personnel start working, and it may take a party." "I can't wait. I'll call the general affairs department and we'll go collect it later." Chu Lingyun shook his head. The newly discovered place was very important. Chu Lingyun had a premonition that there was definitely a big fish here, and anyone who had contact with it should not miss it. Although the leader of the general affairs team is not Wang Yuemin, Wang Yuemin currently holds a high position at Wuhan Station, and the members of the general affairs team dare not give them any obstacles. If you coordinate with the captain, then there's no problem. Shen Hanwen grinned. He was not a loach, but a straightforward soldier. He would only be happy with tasks and never refuse them. Returning to the military intelligence department, Chu Lingyun immediately contacted the general affairs department. As expected, the General Affairs Department did not refuse Chu Lingyun's request and provided them with 2 cameras and 10 rolls of film overnight. If there was not enough film, they would come to them again. Chapter 8. Finding the Trace. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shen Hanwen and the Loach both went back to rest, but Chu Lingyun did not leave. He lives in a single dormitory, and it's the same whether he goes back or not. Sitting at an empty desk, Chu Lingyun reorganizes what happened today. It's not long, only 1 day, but there are many things happening. There was no problem with the morning arrest, and the felt hat man was on the scene, more like monitoring their joints. When Asakura Ono was caught, he quickly called the Japanese to inform them of everything. Afterwards, he called Henry again, and the French were very angry when they found out. The French concession patrol quickly intervened and demanded Asakura Ono. After learning that it was the man in the felt hat who made the phone call, Chu Lingyun understood that this was their rescue method. If the French concession patrol room could reach people, it would be much simpler for the Japanese to rescue them from the French than for military intelligence agencies. At present, the Japanese strategy is very successful, but they would never have thought that the felt hat man had been exposed, and Chu Lingyun had already learned about all of this. In addition to these three exposed individuals, there is also a key figure, Yang Jian. Yang Jian is the owner of the house that Chu Lingyun just investigated. The name registered by the telephone bureau is likely an alias. This is a more important person. The content of the phone call from the felt hat man shows that he is reporting to Yang Jian and following the next command. This Yang Jian has a higher status than the felt hat man. In addition to Asakura Ono and Endo Yuki on the surface, there are also felt hat men and Yang Jian hidden in the dark. If we capture them all, it will definitely be a huge credit. Since its establishment, the entire military intelligence service has never captured so many Japanese spies. After a sleepless night, the next morning, the Loach received a new mission. He wants to mobilize people he knows to find a man with a scar at the corner of his eye, about 40 years old, and about 1.7 meters tall. The Loach is a local person who knows many people and has all kinds of education. Chu Lingyun offered a high reward of 200 yuan for this. But there is one thing that needs to be kept confidential, and one must not openly search for people, only secretly investigate. The next morning, after assigning work, Chu Lingyun arrived at Jinsan Lane. "Captain, you're here." Shen Hanwen has rented out the attic of a house across from him and even set up a dedicated phone line here, with 5 team members taking turns monitoring Yang Jian's residence. There are 3 people at the front door and 2 people at the back door, each equipped with a camera. How is the situation? Chu Lingyun stood in the attic, and through the window, he could clearly see the situation of Yang Jian's residence across from him. Shen Hanwen replied, "I learned from my neighbor that Yang Jian is in his 30s and is a painter. He rarely goes out and only has a cooking mother at home to take care of him. The mother has gone out to buy groceries in the morning and has never left since. Continue monitoring and call me immediately if there is any situation." Chu Lingyun followed and watched for a while, but there were no abnormalities on the other side. After giving orders, he returned to the military intelligence department. Intelligence work requires patience. Wang Yuemin spent a month monitoring Asakura Ono, and Chu Lingyun did not lack this patience. He would keep an eye on Yang Jian. In the afternoon, Chu Lingyun did not leave the team. Shortly after work time, the phone on the table rang. "I'm Chu Lingyun, who is that?" "Boss Chu, I'm Lu Chang. You instructed the person we were looking for to fix the shoes at Dadu's place just now. Dadu asked someone to tell me that I'm here right now." Lu Chang, the young man repairing shoes at the intersection of Chongtang Road. Yesterday, Chu Lingyun did give him an explanation, asking him to tell all the shoe polishers in the city that anyone who meets someone with a scar on the corner of their eye can call him and receive a reward of 20 yuan. At that time, Chu Lingyun could not be certain that the felt hat man was related to the Japanese, and there were not many bounties offered. It was not until late at night that it was discovered that the felt hat man was the informant. "Where are you now?" Chu Lingyun stood up fiercely. "I'm here at Guanja Dupi on Chilhai Old Street, where the big-headed shoes are sold. Wait for me there, don't run around." Chu Lingyun hung up the phone and called out 3 team members to go out with him. The felt hat man appeared, and Chu Lingyun's casual arrangement yesterday had a miraculous effect. Chilhai Street is located in the west of the city and is a slum area. It is mostly made up of low felt houses, and the street is narrow. Because the rent here is cheap and there are many outsiders living here, the population here is not large. After Chu Lingyun arrived, he quickly saw the shoe stall mentioned by Lu Chang. In a prominent position, Lu Chang was also present, wearing a large apron and talking to a big-headed man wearing the same apron. Boss Chu, Lu Chang immediately stood up when he saw Chu Lingyun. "Follow me." There were many people near the shoe stall. Chu Lingyun looked around and took Lu Chang back to the car, pulling up the curtains inside. "Boss Chu, after you gave me your order yesterday, I spread the news to everyone tonight. This afternoon, the two asked someone to pass on a message to me, saying that someone who looks very similar to what I said came to his place to fix shoes. I immediately ran over and confirmed that it was yesterday's person, so I called you." Getting on the car, Lu Chang still seemed a bit nervous and immediately explained. Upon hearing his words, Chu Lingyun's heart tightened sharply and he said, "How did you confirm his identity?" Lu Chang seemed to understand Chu Lingyun's concerns and said, "Don't worry, he won't be suspicious. There are also my customers here, and I happened to come to deliver shoes to an old customer. When I arrived, Big Head had already repaired his shoes. I followed him on the way and secretly glanced at him. I found that the person who repaired shoes at Shuyuan www.jiaoshuyuan.com was indeed the one who repaired shoes at my place the day before yesterday." "Are you sure he didn't notice you?" Chu Lingyun asked again. "No, absolutely not. I often come here to give shoes, and many neighbors know me." Lu Chang shook his head, making Chu Lingyun feel relieved. Among the 4-day spies that Chu Lingyun has found, the felt hat man is the only one who has disconnected. If he can be found, the case will be much clearer. "Okay, after finding the person, you and Big Head will each receive a reward of 20 yuan. Chu Lingyun smiled and said, Chu Lingyun is not a stingy person. If Lu Chang helps him find someone, he can still receive this amount of reward. Every person is 20. Lu Chang widened his eyes. Yesterday, he was still talking about 20, and whoever found it would give it to him. Unexpectedly, he also received a reward. Why, don't you want it? Chu Lingyun smiled. Yes, thank you boss, thank you boss. Lu Chang couldn't close his mouth with a smile, bowing and thanking. He only earns around 10 yuan a month for polishing and repairing shoes, and at best, he can earn up to 10 yuan, which is already considered a high income among many shoe stalls. Chu Lingyun gave him a reward of 20 yuan directly, which is equivalent to 1 month's net income. This is unexpected wealth. If left for the Chinese New Year, you will definitely have a fat New Year, and now you can also pull some cloth for your wife and children and help them make 2 new clothes. In addition, you can also buy some meat to improve the food and allow your wife and children to enjoy themselves well. Lu Chang led Chu Lingyun to a small alley. He just came to confirm whether the person mentioned by the two was the one Chu Lingyun was looking for. After all, he was the only one who had seen the appearance of a felt hat man. It was Chu Lingyun who didn't even see clearly at the beginning, only noticed the scar at the corner of his eye. Chapter 9. Preparation for capturing people. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He went into this alley, and my old customer was at the entrance of the alley. I didn't dare to follow him anymore, just took a sneak look at him and sent shoes to the old customer. In the alley, Lu Chang carefully explained that the money would only be given to the felt hat man when he found him, and he hasn't received it yet. He regretted it a bit. Why didn't he just follow up and directly find the person's residence? In this way, he could easily get 20 yuan. Well done, fortunately you didn't follow, otherwise it would be dangerous. However, Chu Lingyun praised him. Lu Chang was just a shoemaker with no professional skills, and the felt hat man was a hidden agent. If Lu Chang followed him, he would definitely be discovered by him. With the ruthlessness of the Japanese, Lu Chang was probably doomed. It doesn't matter if you don't know his address. This is the city center and their territory. Just search door-to-door. Zhonghui, contact the police station and ask them to send more people. Although this is just a small alley, there are not many people living in it. The entire alley is very deep, with at least hundreds of households. Chu Lingyun only brought 3 people, and the manpower is not enough. The Military Intelligence Department supervises the military and police. Although the police station is not directly under their jurisdiction, they have a natural leadership advantage over the police. The police dare not disobey their orders. Yes, Captain. Zhong Hui is an elderly member of the operation team. He used to work in the security department and was also a trainee. Later, he was selected to join the Wuhan Military Intelligence Station due to his good skills. 3 teams of 14 people, in terms of individual military strength, Zhong Hui is the strongest. Zhong Hui went to contact the police and revealed the identity of the Military Intelligence Department. The director of the police station was alarmed and dispatched more than 100 police officers from the station to cooperate with the operation of the Military Intelligence Department. Remember, if you search from door to door for the reason of checking registered residence, no one can let go. If you see a person with a scar on the corner of his eye, report it immediately. Do not act privately. This is a military order. If you dare to violate it, you will be punished by military law. 3 members of the Zhong Hui team gave orders to over 100 police officers, all of whom stood straight and listened carefully. The masters of the Military Intelligence Department were unreasonable, and if they really fell into their hands, they would have to shed their skin even if they didn't die. For safety reasons, the scope of the search will not be limited to this alley, and several nearby alleys will be searched. There are several police officers blocking each alley entrance, and now these few alleys are not allowed to enter or exit, and no one can come out. Seeing Chu Lingyun give an order, so many police officers were mobilized and completely obeyed their orders. It was then that Lu Chang understood that this Chu boss was actually a big shot. It's good to be a big shot, and his heart is also at ease. Such a big shot won't waste his bounty afterwards. As the police moved out, this residential area became a bustling place. Chu Lingyun and Zhong Hui waited on the side, unable to follow the police to search door, just waiting for the results they found out. Ichiro Watanabe is packing things at his own home. As early as in Japan, Ichiro Watanabe was a Ronin warrior. Later, he joined the Black Dragon Society and followed its people to northeast China. He spent 10 years in northeast China, during which he was trained as a spy by the Black Dragon Society. Later, he was selected by Tokugawa Keiji, who had a close relationship with the Black Dragon Society, and joined the Japanese Special High School, becoming a professional spy. But during one operation, he was cut at the corner of his eye, leaving a deep scar. A person like him with obvious physical characteristics is not suitable for frontline intelligence work, so he was sent to Wuhan by the Special High School to become an observer, codenamed Owl. The so-called observer refers to the person who, while other intelligence agents are engaged in intelligence work, is on guard and observing from the periphery. When encountering danger, they should make the correct response, even rescue. The noise outside caught the attention of Ichiro Watanabe. Ichiro Watanabe wanted to enter the room and take out his hidden pistol, but hesitated for a moment before giving up the idea. In no time, his door was heavily knocked open. Open the door and the police will check registered residence. The police officers who called at the door were very rough and crazy. They were originally doing well in the station, but they were caught as strong men. These police officers were all good at bullying the weak and fearing the hard, and at this time, they vented their anger on the people. Previously, there were residents who opened the door slowly and even were beaten by the police. "Sir, I have registered." Ichiro Watanabe has been in China for a long time and speaks Chinese fluently, making it impossible to tell that he is Japanese. He also has a good understanding of China's national conditions. It has long been a common practice to investigate registered residents like this every few months. The reason why he is hiding here is because there are many chaotic people in the slums, which is suitable for his disguise and lurking. Take it out and take a look. The leading policeman saw the scar on the corner of his eye at a glance, but there was no noise. He yelled at him to take out his registered residence certificate, pretended to look at it for a few times, and then left in the yard after another toss. "Captain, I found this person at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. His name is Zhu He, and he rented here a year ago at number 71 in the alley. Should we arrest him now?" After receiving the news, Zhong Hui immediately reported to Chu Lingyun. Chu Lingyun's spirit was shaken and he found it. No matter how deep you bugs hid, it was useless. They could still pull you out. Take Lu Chang to confirm if everything is correct, then catch him. Chu Lingyun didn't hesitate much and immediately gave the order. Chu Lingyun also understood that people like the felt hat man with obvious external characteristics cannot engage in frontline intelligence work, and he will not have any direct contact with frontline intelligence officers. In this case, there is no need to cast a long line to catch a big fish. Catch it first, then pry open his mouth, and you can still get the desired result. Yes. Zhong Hui excitedly accepted the order and was about to arrest someone again, and it was highly likely that they would be Japanese spies. At this time, in China, Japan, which had invaded northeast China, was definitely ranked first in terms of which country they detested the most. Chu Lingyun personally led the team, accompanied by Lu Chang and the police, to surround the house where Mr. Watanabe lived. Zhong Hui and another team member were lying on the wall, and as soon as there was any movement, they could immediately climb over the low wall and rush inside to capture the person. "Open the door." The police knocked on the door again, this time arousing suspicion from Ichiro Watanabe. He looked at the room behind him and shouted at the door, "Who is it?" "Police, open the door quickly." The police's knocking on the door increased, it was like smashing the door. "I checked earlier, why did you come back?" Instead, Ichiro Watanabe retreated to the room without any intention of opening the door. Zhong Hui was right by the wall, and he could hear Ichiro Watanabe's voice clearly. The position of the voice had changed, and he was retreating, understanding that the other party was already on the alert. Chapter 10. Assault Interrogation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Without waiting for Lu Chang to verify his identity, Zhong Hui immediately ordered the police beside the door, "Open the door, don't shoot, catch it alive." Several police officers kicked the dilapidated gate open with their feet. At the same time, Zhong Hui and another team member flipped over the wall and jumped directly into it. Seeing the door kicked open, Ichiro Watanabe rushed into the room without hesitation. His weapon was hidden inside the room and not carried with him. Zhong Hui's speed was extremely fast. When he saw Ichiro Watanabe running towards the room, he immediately stepped forward and rushed over. Another team member followed closely behind, while Chu Lingyun followed the last team member behind the police and entered the courtyard together. "Stop, don't move." When Chu Lingyun entered the yard, both Zhong Hui and the team member had already rushed into the room, and the roar of Zhong Hui could be heard inside. Bang! Suddenly, there was a gunshot coming from inside, and Chu Lingyun furrowed his brow and immediately ran forward. "Captain, it's dangerous." The last team member tried to stop Chu Lingyun, but was unable to succeed. They could only hold a pistol and follow Chu Lingyun into the room. "Zhong Hui, are you okay? There is also a compartment in the room, which is a small bedroom." In the bedroom, Zhong Hui and another team member have already held down Ichiro Watanabe. Zhong Hui does not have a gun in his hand, and the other team member has a gun in his hand. The white smoke from the gun has not dissipated yet. "Captain, I'm fine. I got caught." Zhong Hui grinned and Chu Lingyun carefully glanced at the captured felt hat man. The felt hat man was pressed to the ground by Zhong Hui, with his face lying down and unable to move. I didn't see the specific arrest of Chu Lingyun, but in such a short period of time, I managed to control the suspected Japanese spy. Zhong Hui's skills are definitely not inferior. Chu Lingyun crouched down and pulled off Ichiro Watanabe's collar, using a knife to pry it open. There was nothing inside. This is to prevent the other party from committing suicide. Japanese spies are not only cruel to the enemy, but also cruel to themselves. In order to prevent them from falling into the hands of the enemy and suffering, they will sow poison on their collars. Once caught, they only need to hold on to their collars to commit suicide. The felt hat man did not, which made Chu Lingyun feel a little relieved. Lu Chang. Chu Lingyun shouted to the outside, and Lu Chang dared to come in after a while. He squatted down and carefully looked at it before saying to Chu Lingyun, "Chief Chu, that's right, it's him." Lu Chang, who knows how to do this, no longer dares to call him boss Chu Lingyun. Like those police officers, they all refer to him as the chief. Tie it up and take it away. The police officer on one side brought the rope, and Zhong Hui skillfully tied Ichiro Watanabe up. "Xiao Yuanqing, why did you shoot just now?" After confirming the person, Chu Lingyun frowned and asked the team member. Before the action, Chu Lingyun had instructed him to catch him alive. This person is very important, and if he doesn't shoot, he shouldn't shoot. "Captain, he wanted to open the box to get something, but I was afraid he was carrying a weapon, so I shot him to stop him." Xiao Yuanqing quickly explained that he was also a skilled player selected from the military by the Military Intelligence Department, with excellent marksmanship. "Captain, Yuanqing didn't shoot at people, he aimed at boxes and didn't harm anyone." Zhong Hui spoke for Xiao Yuanqing on the side, and Xiao Yuanqing did not intend to hurt anyone at that time. Chu Lingyun walked into the inner room and saw bullet holes on the box. The box was very old, and all the paint on it had peeled off. When it was opened, there were only some tattered clothes inside. Since Ichiro Watanabe chose to hide it here, he couldn't have dressed too brightly. Chu Lingyun took out all the clothes inside and touched the bottom of the box, quickly finding a hidden compartment. Within the dark grid, there were not only pistols and bullets, but also a powerful American grenade. Seeing these things, Chu Lingyun was also startled. "Yuanqing, you did a good job. I blamed you wrong." Chu Lingyun took the initiative to apologize to Xiao Yuanqing. If it weren't for Xiao Yuanqing's quick action to stop the felt hat man, it was very likely that he would have taken out the weapons inside. Not to mention anything else, just this grenade can be reimbursed here with Zhong Hui and Xiao Yuanqing. If that's the case, even good things can turn into bad things. Xiao Yuanqing didn't expect Chu Lingyun to apologize to him and grinned. Chu Lingyun left Zhong Hui with the police to block and search here, leading Xiao Yuanqing and another team member to escort the felt hat man back to the Military Intelligence Department. The interrogation of the felt hat man must be carried out as soon as possible. After the interrogation, not only can Asakura Ono and Endo Yuki be arrested, but also Yang Jian's true identity can be found out, so that the next arrangements can be made. The man with a colorful felt hat was directly tied up in the interrogation room after being brought back, and Chu Lingyun personally interrogated him. Name. Chu Lingyun didn't sit at the table and walked over to inquire. "Zhu He," said Ichiro Watanabe weakly. "I asked for your real name, and since we dare to arrest you, we know what you have done. Tell me earlier, and we can save you some physical suffering." Chu Lingyun walked up to Ichiro Watanabe and spoke coldly. "My real name is Zhu He, sir. What have I done? Are you going to arrest me?" Although Ichiro Watanabe knew he had fallen this time, he still did not let go and did not acknowledge his Japanese identity. Punishment. Chu Lingyun didn't say anything nonsense and directly ordered the use of punishment, with leather whips, tiger stools, and fire tongs taking turns. In no time, Ichiro Watanabe became unrecognizable and fainted several times, each time being awakened with water. Zhaozhuyuan.com Lingyun, have you caught the Japanese spy? While being punished, Wang Yuemin suddenly walked in from outside, along with Wang Jiaoyang. This morning, Wang Yuemin just reported to the headquarters that the previous case was a mishap, and the one caught was not a military spy, but a commercial spy. The voice of the long-distance call was not clear, and Wang Yuemin was still scolded by Chuzhua, which made him feel bad all day. Just now, Wang Jiaoyang suddenly reported to him that Chu Lingyun had caught a Japanese spy and was interrogating him. Without saying a word, Wang Yuemin ran over to inquire about the situation. "Webmaster, let's go out and talk." Chu Lingyun took Wang Yuemin and Wang Jiaoyang to the outside of the interrogation room, telling Wang Yuemin in detail about his previous suspicions and yesterday's investigation. Chu Lingyun didn't want to go and hide this from Wang Yuemin. In the military intelligence department, his biggest thigh is Wang Yuemin. If he wants to develop in the future, he must rely on Wang Yuemin. If he hasn't received a confession yet, he will take the initiative to tell Wang Yuemin. After listening to Chu Lingyun's report, Wang Yuemin was stunned and pointed at him, saying, "Are you saying that since you took over this case yesterday, not only did you verify that Asakura Ono and his business intelligence was fake, but you also followed suit and caught spies who leaked information to the Japanese and French, and successfully tracked down his online presence? From yesterday to now, how long has it been? If we calculate based on the afternoon time, at most, there is only 1 day left." In just 1 day, Chu Lingyun surprisingly did so much work, confirming that Asakura Ono and Endo Yuki were not real commercial spies. He also successfully arrested the informant and kept an eye on one. Wang Yuemin doesn't know how to evaluate this efficiency well.